safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
This is my video update on this Wednesday afternoon, February the 5th, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. Oh boy, we've got a lot of news to get to today. So, of course, we are going to begin with Trump and Netanyahu. I believe this was the first meeting that Trump has had. Coffee therapy down that way. It's coffee therapy. The first meeting that Trump has had with an international leader in Netanyahu, coming to the United States, and they had a mini press conference. Men's mental health matters too. Yeah, men's mental health does matter. That's for sure. They had a mini press conference in the Oval Office, and then they had a wider press conference after their meeting. So they talked to reporters before their meeting, and then after their meeting, they had a full-on press conference, and what a disaster for Trump. What a freaking disaster for Trump. The whole world is in shock, to be quite honest. The statements that he made with regards to Gaza and the Palestinians, it's left the most of the world speechless, absolutely speechless. And these were not remarks from Trump that he made on the fly. This wasn't stuff that he was saying just off the top of his head, just kind of winging it during the full press conference. I mean, these were written statements. You can see that he was reading everything from prepared statements. But Turkey has come out and I'll get to what he said, but I'm sure everyone already knows what he said. But Turkey's come out, their foreign minister, and they're outraged. Saudi Arabia has come out with a statement saying that everything that Trump said is not going to happen. A lot of countries are coming out with statements of shock from what Trump said. Now, when you're dealing with countries like Turkey or Saudi Arabia, Jordan, who knows? They say one thing, they come out with a public statement, and they say one thing, and something totally different could actually happen. And Saudi Arabia was much of the focus of the press conference. They talked a lot about Saudi Arabia and getting Saudi Arabia on side with Trump's plan, with Trump and Netanyahu's plan. So let's just get right into it, and let me read you what he said, what Trump said. Put the coffee down right there. It's a good spot, huh? Not a bad spot. So let me read you some of Trump's statements. Man, he really took an L from CNN. What's her name? CNN, Trump, he took a huge L from CNN. Caitlin, is it Caitlin Collins or Caitlin Connor? I forget her name, but she despises Trump. Trump doesn't like her either. They once did a town hall, and Trump called her a real nasty person or something like that. You know who I'm talking about. But she basically asked Trump about Gaza and who's going to live there if he goes through with his plan. And Trump said the world's citizens. Just what? What? Oh man, CNN won that one. They won that one. U.S. will take over Gaza. According to Trump, the U.S. president announced a plan to raise the Palestinian enclave and turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East for the people of the world. The Riviera of the Middle East. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, Trump said, promising to level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings. Asked to clarify what exactly he meant by a takeover, the U.S. leader said he envisions a long-term ownership position that would supposedly bring great stability to the entire Middle East. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing it, and creating thousands of jobs, Trump claimed. Who are these people that you've spoken to, Trump? And they're saying this is a great idea. Can we get some names? Trump also said he is not ruling out deploying U.S. troops to support his Gaza development plan. We'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. We're going to take over that place, he said. When asked who would populate Gaza once the U.S. takes over and redevelops it, and whether the Palestinian people would be able to return, Trump responded, I envision the world's people living there. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable, and I think the entire world representatives from all over the world will be there and they will live there. Palestinians also, he said. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be so magnificent. I don't want to be a wise guy. Let's continue. Trump suggested that nations such as Jordan and Egypt should host displaced Palestinians, despite these countries previously rejecting direct expulsion or coerced migration. These actions would threaten the region's stability, risk expanding the conflict, and undermine prospects for peace and coexistence among its peoples. According to a joint statement by Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, the Palestinian Authority, and the Arab League on Saturday. That's the statement they made on Saturday. Yeah, because Trump floated this out there a couple of days ago, but yesterday he threw it all out there. He vomited the entire plan that he's thinking, that him and Netanyahu are thinking, and Trump's team that they're thinking about. And you have Saudi Arabia, you have Egypt, you have Jordan. You have all of these countries in the region, their region. This is their region, and they're saying this is nuts. This is going to cause instability. Yeah, obviously it's going to cause instability, unless, of course, they know something that we don't, because they mentioned Saudi Arabia over and over again. We're going to get Saudi Arabia on side. Saudi Arabia is going to agree, and even the media. Even the media, not the brightest, the mainstream media, not the brightest people in the world, man. Even they were asking, what about Saudi Arabia? What does Saudi Arabia think of this? And both Trump and Netanyahu said that they're confident that Saudi Arabia will agree to this. That's what they said. I believe Netanyahu even said in 6 months. I give it 6 months, he said, or in about 6 months, we'll work out Saudi Arabia. And Trump said MBS is great, and the people in Saudi Arabia are great, and we'll talk to them. we'll get them on side, was pretty much what he was saying. I mean, Saudi Arabia on X, they posted the foreign ministry statement. The foreign ministry affirms that Saudi Arabia's position on the establishment of a Palestinian state is firm and unwavering. His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, Crown Prince and Prime Minister, clearly and unequivocally reaffirmed this stance, and they have the whole statement posted on X, the entire statement. And Trump was asked by reporters, are the Saudis demanding a Palestinian state? He was asked by reporters, I believe multiple times during all of these interactions with the media. The first press conference, the press conference after the meeting with Netanyahu, he was asked, are the Saudis on board? They've been demanding a Palestinian state. They've been very firm in their demands. And Trump said, no, they're not demanding a Palestinian state. That's basically what he was saying. No, they're not demanding that. Reporter, are Saudis demanding a Palestinian state? Trump, no, they're not. And then Saudi Arabia, via Reuters, it says, Saudi Arabia rules out relations with Israel without establishment of Palestinian state. This is all on one thread on X. Multipolarity, I understand. Makes sense. I'm all for it. The multipolar world, I'm all for it. I think that's where we're heading towards. Spheres of influence, now that Trump is president, spheres of influence, it's a mixed bag. Some things you could say, okay, it could benefit the region. Other things, not so good, especially if you're a smaller nation in the sphere of a big power. You have to navigate things a little bit more carefully. But I understand it as a geopolitical concept. I understand it. This, I don't see how any of this benefits the United States. I don't see how this benefits Americans. I don't see how this benefits the Trump administration. I don't see how this benefits spheres of influence. I don't see how this benefits America First, MAGA, U.S. troops in Gaza? Really? You're going to build hotels and casinos? What exactly is he talking about, man? 1.8 million people are going to go where? Is Jordan and Egypt, are they going to agree to this? They say they're not. And more importantly, why would the people, 1.8 million people agree to this? I don't even know what to say, man. I really don't know what to say. As with everything, when it comes to Trump, let's see what happens going forward. Because with Trump, you always get outrageous statements. You always get a lot of crazy stuff that he throws out there. Let's see what happens going forward. But this was a written, prepared statement that he was making. This wasn't him just ad-libbing, just talking ideas or thoughts that he usually does that he just throws out there. No, this was prepared. This was absolutely prepared. So they wanted to get this out there. And then we have Iran, which a lot of people are talking about the statements made about Iran, and Iran can't get a nuclear weapon, and he signed an executive order saying that he's going to place maximum pressure on Iran, sanctions, and he's going to try to strangle Iran's economy and get Iran to collapse, to fold to the U.S., to Israel's demands, whatever. This is no surprise. I don't even think this is that big of a story. We all knew that this was coming. We've talked about Trump's plan for Iran for a couple of months now. Even the Financial Times was reporting on this about a month ago, that Trump's plan for Iran at the moment is not going to be conflict. At the moment, it's not going to be conflict. It's going to be this economic warfare of maximum pressure, maximum sanctions. So he's putting that into effect. No surprise. Iran is no surprise that all of this happened, that he signed the executive orders, and now you're going to see an economic war, economic sanctions, really dialed up to intense levels against Iran. So we'll see if Iran is prepared for this. They better be. They should be. They've had a lot of time to prepare for this. They've had a lot of time to prepare for Trump's maximum pressure. Everyone saw this coming. Everyone saw that this was going to be the plan for Iran. Of course, Netanyahu wants conflict, and he's going to push for conflict. But right now, it does look like Trump is saying no conflict for now. I don't want conflict. But what we are going to do is we're going to put maximum pressure on Iran. Oh man, this is going to make the Middle East very unstable. I don't know. It's going to make it very unstable, or Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Turkey are really on board with this. And publicly they're saying one thing, but behind the scenes, they've agreed to other things. Turkey was saying a lot of stuff over the last year, right? Erdogan was saying a lot of stuff over the last year, especially with regards to Gaza and with regards to Israel, and you saw what happened with Syria. So Turkey says one thing, but you don't know what wheeling and dealing Erdogan is making. Saudi Arabia, something tells me that they're going to hold firm on their position, but who knows? Who knows? Is MBS, is Saudi Arabia in BRICS? Did they go through with BRICS? No, they didn't go through with BRICS, which leads me to believe that MBS and Saudi Arabia, they're looking at the United States. They prefer some sort of a partnership or security agreement with the United States. Remember, Saudi Arabia, what they would like is nukes, nuclear technology, nuclear capability, nuclear protection. I've been talking about this story for the last couple of years, how Saudi Arabia has been looking to get something going with the United States with regards to nuclear protection or nuclear capability. Anyway, let's go to the next story. Elensky and Piers Morgan. Oh boy, do I really have to talk about this one? Do I really have to cover this? Yeah, so Piers Morgan did a 1 hour or a 90-minute interview, I don't even know, with the Green Goblin. And this was in order to push back against everything that Tucker Carlson said during Piers Morgan and Tucker's debate on Ukraine, which covered a lot of Ukraine. And Piers Morgan was thoroughly embarrassed and humiliated by his lack of knowledge when it comes to Ukraine. And Tucker completely pummeled him in the debate. So Piers Morgan thought it would be a good idea to interview Elensky and to get Elensky's side of the story. And Piers Morgan, he has not hidden the fact that he absolutely admires the Green Goblin. He thinks he is better than Churchill. He's magnificent. He is the greatest leader of our lifetime. He's one dictator, according to Piers Morgan. He's one dictator that he admires. He's Piers, I love dictators, Morgan. All the other dictators, Piers Morgan absolutely despises all the other dictators of the world. But he told Tucker, Zelenskyy, that dictator, Zelenskyy, I'm on board with that dictator. Well, they have something in common. They have something in common. They both despise Russia. That's what binds them. What binds them is their feelings towards Russia and their jealousy. Their feelings towards Russia, towards Putin. I don't know why Piers Morgan despises Russia so much. My guess would be that he's British establishment. He's mainstream media. He's definitely not alternative media, even though he has the YouTube channel and it's Piers Morgan Uncensored. He is as establishment mainstream media, in my opinion, as you can possibly get. So he's part of the mainstream media machine. He's part of the British establishment machine. And I guess by default, you have to hate Russia and you have to despise the Putin. That's the British establishment default position. So he did this interview with Zelenskyy. I watched it. Unfortunately, it was awful. It was just a freaking train wreck of an interview. Piers Morgan gave Zelenskyy softball questions. No pushback on anything that Zelenskyy said, because Piers Morgan doesn't really understand the conflict in Ukraine at all. He has zero understanding or nuance of what's going on in Ukraine or geopolitics in general. I said this before in a previous video. Piers Morgan should stay away from geopolitics. Cover the royal family, cover gossip, cover stuff like that. But when it comes to geopolitics and just politics, he should just stay away because it's not a good look for him. But the translation. So Zelenskyy decided not to speak in English, and they had a translator. It was awful, man. It was pretty unbearable, actually. Just the translation part of it was horrible. The top three comments. Let me pull it up here. The top three comments on YouTube. Let me just read them to you. These are the top three. The translation is so painful to listen to. Why is the translator stuttering? Piers Morgan's team could have done better. Piers, please re-release this with an actual translator, not a Ukrainian foreign exchange student trying to get a degree in English. This is not watchable. Nice of you to get Borat to translate for Zelenskyy, LOL. And probably the top 50 comments, maybe the top 100 comments, if you just go down, are pretty much blasting Piers Morgan and the actual translation. It made watching the video almost impossible. Impossible. I mean, I watched it because it's my job, but I mean, if you were trying to watch this to maybe gain some insight on what Zelenskyy is thinking, or maybe to see what he's going to say to counter Tucker's arguments, it was unbearable, man. Freaking unbearable. And it shows in the views. I believe the video's been up for 15 hours at the time of me recording this video. And last I checked, it had 195,000 views. Probably now it'll be over 200,000. But that's a lot of views. I mean, I never get those views on my channel. I did one video with the cat, right behind me. That one has a lot of views. But it's not because of me, it's because of the cat. The cat's the real star. But everyone loves cats. But for Piers Morgan, he usually gets within the first 15, 20 hours his videos because they're very Jerry Springer-like. That's his format. He usually gets around 750,000 to 1 million views. I don't know, maybe maybe the algorithm will start to really pump this video up there because Ukraine or Piers Morgan, the mainstream media, I don't know, maybe they're going to say, YouTube, you got to pump up the numbers. We can't have this video getting such low views. So maybe they'll pump it up. That's my thinking. That's probably what YouTube is going to do. They're going to artificially try to pump up the views of this interview, but it's performing really, really poorly. Which also speaks to the fact that people are just not interested in hearing what the Green Goblin has to say, right? No one cares anymore. No one likes Zelenskyy anymore. But the interview was a mess. I'm not going to go through all the points that were made. What they talked about, I'll go through some. Zelenskyy once again talked about how he wants nukes. I want nukes. I also want security guarantees. I also want to get into NATO. I also want U.S. boots on the ground. I also want money. So he got into all of that. No big surprise there. He actually was asked about Tucker, and he laid into Tucker Carlson. He said that Tucker Carlson needs to stop working for Putin, and he also said that Tucker Carlson needs to stop licking Putin's butt. That's what he said. At least that's the translation that we got. Kissing Putin's butt or licking Putin's butt. I forgot exactly what the translator said, but he really laid into to Tucker Carlson. I said he wants nukes. He talked about how he wants nukes. I said that. He did say he's ready to speak with Putin. He's ready to negotiate with Putin if that's what it takes. But he said Putin's the enemy. If that is the only setup in which we can bring peace to the citizens of Ukraine and not lose people, definitely we will go for this setup, for this meeting. He said, what is my attitude to him, Putin? I will not be kind to him, and I consider him an enemy. And to be honest, I believe he considers me an enemy as well, Zelenskyy stated. He's not serious about negotiations. You can tell when he talks about negotiations, he's not serious about it at all. He's just saying that because he knows he has to say that. But he doesn't intend to negotiate with Putin. He doesn't want to negotiate with Putin. He has no interest to negotiate. He understands that if he negotiates, he's done for. He is not going to be president of Ukraine anymore, even though the Russian government and Putin don't consider him the legitimate president of Ukraine anyway. But you can tell that he has no intent to negotiate with anybody. Zelenskyy's motive, what he wants to do is crystal clear. He wants to escalate and expand the war. He wants to create the conditions so that there is a war between Russia and the United States. That's exactly what he wants. No doubt about it. That's what he's trying to get. That's what he wants. That's what he's trying to move towards. He wants a war between Russia and the United States. That's what he's moving towards. And Piers Morgan asked him about the claim that he's illegitimate and he's a dictator, and Zelenskyy threw out all kinds of lies, of nonsense. I mean, he said, I was elected by 73% of the people, but Piers Morgan didn't push back on any of that. He said that you can't have elections when you're under martial law. Piers Morgan didn't push back on any of that. He should have said, yeah, but Russia says that in your constitution, you're even if you have martial law, you still have to hold elections. Many countries, they've held elections, including the United States. They've held elections during wartime. Piers Morgan didn't push back on any of the claims that Zelenskyy was making with regards to his legitimacy or with regards to the fact that Tucker and many people consider him to be a dictator. He just let Zelenskyy just throw out all kinds of gibberish, gibberish. Yeah, and then he talked about casualties as well. He said that Russia's suffering. What did he say? Russia's suffering something like 300,000 casualties, with a total casualties of around 600, 700,000. That's total. That's KIA and wounded. And then he said that Ukraine has about 45,000 KIA. That's what he said, and something like 300,000 wounded. But then he got into this rant, which made no sense. He said we have 390,000 wounded, but it's not really 390,000 wounded because they're wounded. And then he said we have better medicine. He said Ukraine has better medicine and better doctors than Russia. So we fix up the wounded soldiers. They go back to the front line, so they're not wounded anymore. And then they get wounded again. And so we count them again as wounded. He got into this whole weird explanation that made zero sense. And Piers Morgan's just nodding. Piers Morgan's like, he has that face, Piers Morgan face. He's just nodding along. You're magnificent. You're so strong, Elensky. You're so strong. You're so magnificent. You're Churchill. You're better than Churchill. So yeah, that was the interview pretty much. I mean, I would tell you guys go watch it, but honestly, unless you're into torturing yourself, unless you want to, torture yourself for a good hour, I don't see why you would watch this interview, to be quite honest. But Maria Zakharova, she actually replied to Zelensky's request for nukes, his statement that he made about getting nuclear weapons. And we're not going to get into this whole Ukraine never had nukes, it didn't give up nukes. We know the history and the story there. Piers Morgan doesn't understand the history and the story, but we know the history and the story about the USSR and nuclear weapons. But Zakharova said Zelensky's latest statements about his desire to possess nuclear weapons reveal him as a maniac who sees the planet as the object of his sick fantasies. They also prove that for him, nuclear power plants are not a source of peaceful energy, but rather a form of dirty nuclear weaponry, which the Kiev regime needs for blackmail. What do you think of the Putin? That's what Piers says. Whenever he says Putin's name, the Putin, he goes, the Putin. Will you negotiate with the Putin? You can see Piers can't even say Putin's name. That's how much he despises Putin. It's physically repulsive, difficult for Piers Morgan to even say Putin's name. He goes, will you negotiate with the Putin? Who's this Putin guy? I know Putin. I don't know Putin. Podolyak. Is Putin related to Putin? I don't know. What is this Piers Morgan saying? Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on because people are going to get upset if this video drags on. I'm going to hear it in the comment sections. Let's see. Reuters says U.S. arms shipment. Let's do a Ukraine update. Reuters says U.S. arms shipment to Kiev briefly paused before resuming over the weekend, sources say. So this story is an interesting one. I think a lot of this has to do with the $4 billion that Biden left over as he exited. So you had like $4 billion in weapons, and Reuters is reporting that the Trump White House, they came in and then they put a pause to these weapons, and then they're looking the other way now, and there is no pause. And then they paused it again, and now they're looking the other way, and there's no statements from the Trump White House. It seems as if the Trump White House doesn't even want to comment. Send the weapons. Let's run down the $3 billion or $4 billion that Biden earmarked for weapons, and they don't even want to comment on this. So the weapons are still flowing to Ukraine, even though there's a bit of confusion as to what the Trump policy is on weapons to Ukraine. I don't think Trump even knows what the policy is. I imagine that he's going to want to keep the weapons flowing because his team probably thinks that by keeping the weapons flowing, you have leverage over Putin when you negotiate. And by the way, we are getting rumors that the two countries that they may hold talks are Saudi Arabia and UAE. Even though Peskov, he said that the Kremlin has received no contact from the Trump administration. Before discussing a venue for such a meeting, we must first determine what the meeting will be all about. There is no news on that front. So Trump says that he's talking to the Russians. The Kremlin is saying we've heard nothing, and all this talk about Saudi Arabia or UAE hosting negotiations. We first have to make contact with the United States before we, and then figure out what we're going to talk about before we discuss the venue. By the way, Trump did get one question in the press conference with Netanyahu on Project Ukraine. And Trump said something interesting. He said that we, the Trump administration, we are talking to the Ukraine leadership, and we're also talking to the Russians. We're talking to the Ukraine leadership, but we're talking to the Russians. So it could really be anybody that he's talking to when it comes to the Russians. My thinking is that they're having very low-level discussions with the embassy, the Russian embassy in D.C. not the Russian leadership. But when it comes to Ukraine, he said we're talking with the Ukraine leadership. Just thought I would mention that. What else? Reuters is also saying that the weapons going to Ukraine are a lot of the weapons just can't be tracked. They can't track them. That's what Reuters is saying. U.S. failed to track weapons sent to Ukraine. The chaos reached such proportions that the Pentagon struggled to define what delivered meant, the news agency has reported. According to Reuters' investigation, the Pentagon's chaotic weapons tracking system, in which even the definition of delivered differed among U.S. military branches, was a significant contributor to the overall confusion. The system failure skewed Pentagon data, making it almost impossible to accurately pinpoint weapons in the shipping process, Reuters said, citing reports by the Government Accountability Office. Yeah, this is not a bug. This is not a bug. This is part of the system, right? This is what's meant to happen. The system's not meant to track weapons, because if you're tracking weapons, then you can't have the 10% for the big guy, right? You can't have all the corruptions and the corruption and all the black market sales and all of this stuff. This is a feature of the system. It's not a bug, Reuters. It's not a bug. Anyway, what else? Ukraine. Here's an interesting story. Ukraine's generals to drain military to bolster failing front line. Kiev reportedly wants to transfer 50,000 personnel to the ground forces from other military branches. So Elensky told Piers that Ukraine's casualties are 45,000. He said the same thing about 3 months ago, 45,000. So they're still at 45,000. But even though the casualties are at 45,000, according to various media reports, including mostly Ukrainian media, Zelenskyy is having to get personnel from the rear, even Air Force pilots, whatever they can find, people that are doing administrative tasks, anybody that they can find, and they're sending them to the front line as infantry. But Zelenskyy is telling Piers Morgan the number is 46,000. But Ukraine media is saying that the Ukraine military and Zelenskyy, he's trying to find anybody that he can find in the military, in any position, to send them to the front line. Anyway, I thought I would mention that. And finally, should we do one more? We are getting reports that Ukraine offered Russia a deal to maintain gas transit in exchange for the transfer of the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant and an end to the shelling of the energy infrastructure. But Russia refused this offer. This was stated by the director of energy programs at the Razumkov Center, Vladimir Omelchenko. All right, so I don't know how true this statement is from this energy director that he posted on social media. But the deal, according to this guy, if you believe what this guy is saying is true, the deal that Zelenskyy wanted to make was we'll continue the gas transit, but you have to give us the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. That's pretty much the deal that he wanted to make. And Russia said no. Yeah, the obsession that Zelenskyy has with capturing the power plant so that he can use Zaporozhye power plant, the Kursk power plant, capture the power plant so he can use them as leverage with Russia. I believe it. It makes sense. It makes sense. Anyway, let's move towards clown world territory. Kaja Kallas came out with a statement yesterday after the various EU meetings that were taking place at their informal EU retreat, their retreat summit. And she said that the EU has decided to set up tribunals, war crime tribunals. And this is nothing to do with the ICC or any of that stuff. This is the EU saying we've decided we're gonna make our own tribunals, our own court, and just for this, our own court, just for Russia, just for Putin, and we're going to try Putin, and of course we're going to find Putin guilty, and we're going to move to punish Putin in Russia, and I don't know, arrest Putin, whatever they're thinking, but most likely to come up with this kangaroo court so that they can put a guilty verdict on Putin and put a price tag on his war crimes. That's what they're going to say. We're going to put a price tag on his war crimes, and that price tag will be $300 billion, which is exactly the amount of money in euro clear, something like that. I don't know. I imagine they're going to do something along those lines. Lord Bebo put a post out the other day and pretty much said this exact thing, and I think that analysis is pretty spot on. They're trying to figure out a way to get that money, that 300 billion, because Trump is going to get the rare earth, the rare earth that the rare earth resources that really don't exist, right? They're there, but Russia has most of them, and everything else that Ukraine has it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But Trump is throwing it out there, probably for leverage with China. But I'm sure the Chinese understand that Ukraine rare earth is a fiction. Rare earth minerals and resources is a fiction, and whatever is real when it comes to the rare earth stuff, that's pretty much under Russia's control. So Olaf Scholz was mad about that. He blasted Trump for saying that he wants the rare earth resources in exchange for weapons. Transaction. Everything's a transaction. Even weapons now for Zelenskyy are a transaction. It's no more about friendship and ideology and fighting the axis of evil, and we're buddies and we're pals and we're going to stand by you for as long as it takes because you're the Green Goblin and we like you so much. It's no longer about that. With Trump, it's about a transaction now. You give us minerals and resources and rare earth stuff, and we'll give you weapons. So when Zelenskyy doesn't have these things to give, what's the Trump White House going to say? No weapons, no money, no honey. That's what they're going to say. So this is bad news for Zelenskyy. The rare earth comment from Trump is really, really bad news for Ukraine and Zelenskyy. So anyway, Kaja Kallas, she's putting together a tribunal. And what was up with her outfit? I don't know. Is it me? Is it me, or was that outfit kind of strange? I don't know. Maybe in the comments down below, you'll let me know if this is the new style, the new fashion that Kaja Kallas was sporting. All right, more clown worlds. Biden has signed on to CAA talent agency. Yeah, I thought this was the Babylon Bee, but no, it's true. Joe Biden, 82, inks deal with powerhouse agency CAA as ex-president potentially eyes Hollywood ventures. No surprise here. No surprise at all, actually. This is how it works. Obama did the same thing. Obama got Netflix, right? On the board of Netflix. That's how it works. You get a book deal. You sign up with Hollywood to do something, producer of something on the board of Netflix. Sign up with CAA talent agency, whatever. Biden's going to get his big payoff. We're talking more than just 10% for the big guy. He's going to get his big payoff, whatever that will be. I don't know. He's going to be put as producer of some movie, and that's going to be how he gets money for all the chaos and suffering that he caused. But a lot of people with Project Ukraine, a lot of people got very, very, very wealthy. Very wealthy. So he's going to be rewarded for that. That's why he inked this Hollywood deal. The Telegraph, always coming up with clown worlds. They have an article with the title, Russia has almost run out of armor. Putin's men are attacking in Ladas. Russia and Ukrainian vehicle attrition rates should be keeping our defense planners awake all night, every night. Yep, Russia's run out of everything. They're having to use Ladas, the Russian car. That's how bad it is for the Russian military, man. They're driving around in Ladas on the front line. Game over for Russia, according to the Telegraph. And finally, it looks like Samantha Power, I can't confirm this 100%, but it looks like she is erasing her various profiles on X. Now, these may be just profiles connected to USAID, but it looks like she's getting rid of her personal X profiles as well. I don't know. I can't confirm this. I've seen some of the accounts that Samantha Power, the former director of USAID under Biden, I've seen some of the accounts that she had are now offline. They've been taken down or paused or whatever. I don't know about her personal X account, but it looks like she's removing her social media presence because she's really been exposed over the past couple of days with all the focus and emphasis on USAID. I talked about her work in Hungary, her very bad, very evil work that she was undertaking in Hungary on behalf of USAID. But yeah, anyway, that's the clown world. That's the video. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like the bomber jacket I am wearing in this video. The link is in the description box down below. Take care.